focus on more of the screen. And I know it's like blocking a lot of your stuff, but I feel like that incentivizes you to like toggle it fast and like turn it back off again and then continue like observing your surroundings. I think overlay map is like top tier, super superior. More games should have one.
Yeah, that's a good shout actually, because I was going to say the exact same thing as you. It's like minimap tunnel vision is so real, and then before you know it, you spend like way more time staring at the minimap than you have actually sort of staring at like where you're going and the actual environment that you're in. And I've done it. I've like ended up not really taking in any of what I'm actually doing because I'm just so glued to the little arrow on my minimap that's like telling me the direction to go, right? So I agree. I think in a lot of games, perhaps turning off the minimap is a good choice.
I've been sitting here racking my brain trying to think of a game with a compass that I particularly like. You know, like what is the good compass alternative? And the only thing that's come to mind is Satisfactory, which is this base building game that I've played. It has a compass. It's really kind of just there to let you know like where your stuff is, you know, give you a rough idea of like, oh yeah, the other base I built is off to the northwest. My truck that I have a bunch of, you know, ore stashed in is, you know, somewhere this way, so I should run towards it. It's kind of a different sort of game than a game like you know, Far Cry or something where you're sort of trying to be immersed in the environment. It's a bit more of a utilitarian game, I think, and it has a map that you can pull up as well, but the compass is sort of just your guidance of like, okay, I need to run in this direction, or like that waypoint I put, you know, is off in that direction. I'll head that way, and then eventually I'll encounter it or pull up the map. So I think it's functional in that game, but it's not an exciting bit of HUD design, is it?
Yeah. Which HUD element do you personally, other than minimaps or compasses, just like hate? Like, what is the worst? You wish you could get rid of it.
Oh, I hate, you know, like the horrible, especially when they don't fit the theme of the game. You know, like the little trails that show you like which direction it is to your next objective, and it's literally just like a line, right? That's all it is.
Too.
And it's in the world. If it kind of blends in, I don't mind it as much, and especially if it's one of those that it sort of shows up for a couple seconds to show you which general direction you're going in, and then it goes away again. But the ones that are so like obtrusive, I really don't like them because I feel like that takes you out of the experience really bad as well. And I'm not hugely like anal about immersion. It's not one of those things that's like mega extremely important to me. But definitely like when it's like a big neon green line in like a medieval fantasy game or something, I'm just like, come on, really?
Those really exist just as a symptom of 3D game graphics becoming illegible, right? Like it's a sign that your art direction has either gotten too detailed or too busy, too, you know, imprecise for players to be able to just naturally read them. And so they're just like, well, or I guess your quest, you know, writing is too vague, right? For people to be able to suss it out on their own. And so the solution is just slap an arrow on it.
Yeah, I feel like it addresses the complaint about having our eyes up on this corner of the screen. Like instead it is trying to draw you into like where you're supposed to be. But yeah, it's like, that wasn't it. I see, but I still don't like that either.
I think for me, I mean, we're kind of blurring the line here between HUD and UI, so I don't know where this complaint falls exactly, but it's tutorial pop-ups that pause your game, you know, that actually like hard freeze you until you read it. And then secondary, like tutorial pop-ups that a game isn't really savvy about knowing it's showed you before. Like I'll take in a complicated game, like, yeah, give me a tutorial pop-up. I'll read it once. If I forget it, that's on me. Like have it somewhere in the menu for me to go read it, you know, but I do not want to see the same shit popping up telling me like, here's what you use gold for. Like every, you know, time I, you know, reboot up the game or like start a new session or just somebody gives me some gold. Like I learned it once and then after that I can go read a wiki or something.
I couldn't come up with like one particular element that I hated the most. I think there's probably like certain iterations of things I dislike, except anything that is a light blue, sky blue, pill-shaped bar, and it's got a little gradient on it from dark to light. I hate that, and that is me complaining about like visual design and like graphic design more than it is about like the functionality of a HUD. But man, whenever I see that color scheme, it looks like you just ripped it out of a box, and I'm like, stop it. Do more. I put it in your world more than that, please.
Now, does this apply to like the shields and stuff in Halo games? Like the little shield meter is always a light blue, or in most of the games, it's a light blue.
No, they've done more work, I think, in Halo generally to make that fit as part of their like the aesthetic of the Halo HUD. The one that got to me most recently was I've been playing Palia Molly, as you know, the cozy farm sim MMO, and I enjoy Palia, and I try not to dunk on it for the interface because I know it's still in like early access or whatever it is at this particular moment. But man, I hate little blue bars filling up. It drives me nuts because it does look so like off the rack as far as like interface design is concerned.
Isn't the dialog box blue as well? It's like that blue gradient.
So. Yeah, the blue gradients, man. Like you would better go real hard in on blue gradients, and you better probably be a sci-fi like Halo,
Yeah.
or else I reject. No.
I was gonna
no
say, I feel like
gradient.
it's like a symptom of like sci-fi JRPGs, like the classic like blue gradient.
You know, a couple years ago, I was playing a little bit of Blue Dragon for the Xbox 360, one of the Mistwalker RPGs that never got ported off that console for some reason. And its UI looks like they got halfway finished with it and then just stopped with like the making it look nice. It was just, it's like, it's got transparency. It's like slightly rounded off, but there's like no frills to it whatsoever. It's just like, yeah, they figured if we just, you know, take the transparency slider down to like 40%, and then have just like white text, that's a UI. And it's like, wow, you guys, like for a game that's all cartoony and looks really nice, they really dropped the ball on making that UI look nice. So transparency, I think it can look really fun and be cool if you have some flavor to it, but some games really just like go lazy with that. I don't know. You need a little more than just dial down the opacity for that to work for me.
Which HUD element is the one that you just like can't live without? You have to have it.
Oh, enemy health bars. 100% an enemy health bar. Like, even though I love some games that don't have them, like Monster Hunter does not have enemy health bars, and it gives me so much anxiety, like not knowing how close I am. Like, you know, they do some kind of like nice tells, you know, how you know when you're pretty close, like the monsters will act in certain ways, or they might become like frenzied and stuff. So there's like little ways to gauge how far along you are in that process. But I don't know, it's like I just really don't like the not knowing if I'm like still really far away from like winning, or if I'm like one hit away from winning. I like to have a good idea of where I'm at. So I think I really like enemy health bars, and I know that won't be popular because I know a lot of people love the kind of like the immersive experience of taking someone on and not knowing like how they're doing. But nah, it's not for me. That one is not for me at all.
That's the MMO player in you coming out, huh?
Yeah, legit. I need to know down to the percentage how much health that enemy has left.
This is reminding me of my current D&D campaign because I've told you, Molly, I'm playing with my siblings, like all my siblings in D&D right now. And we have this bad habit of asking the one of us who is the DM, like, okay, but how hurt does he look? And like, and we'll get the answer of like, we'll occasionally get told bloodied, which is like half health or less, but otherwise it's like a, stop asking, you losers, just keep attacking, figure it out. And we're like, no, I want to know how much. We're like tracking how much damage we've done so that we can do the math in our own heads, because yeah, we're like you, Molly, we're like, I need to know.
It is actually interesting to me that like, Molly, your two favorite types of games, I assume MMO and fighting games, maybe I'm missing one there, but those are two big ones for you. Both really have a lot of drama and like kind of design built into showing numbers to a specific degree, right? I mean, fighting games, they don't show the number explicitly, but like a health bar is the biggest source of information in a fighting game, right? And like the most dramatic moments in fighting games always come from somebody having, you know, one hit of, you know, a chip damage, pixel of health left.
Yeah.
So I don't know, maybe this is a core truth for you.
How have you figured this out about me? And I went to go play Tekken 8 at an event recently as well, and something that we discovered is that when you time out and no one has like been KO'd, it shows you the percentage of how much health each of you had, which they haven't done before as far as I'm aware. And I was like obsessed with it. Every time we were timing out, I was like, look at your percentage and look at my percentage. So man, you're right. And rhythm games as well. Rhythm games are like all about numbers, and they have a little life bar as well. And I'm like watching that life bar like a hawk most of the time, especially if I'm playing like DDR or something. So, Wes, I think you're onto something.
Well, for me, fighting games play into this answer too. I love super meters in fighting games. I think that's a bit of game UI that I couldn't live without. Often because I think they're the most interesting bit of design that separates different fighting games from each other. Like every Capcom game, pretty much, they do something a little bit different with how they treat the super meter. My favorite fighting game of all time probably is Capcom versus SNK 2, in which they brought in, was it 6 different Capcom. How did they do it? No, they spelled Cap versus SNK, and each one has a different groove, which is how the super meter works. So there's C groove, A groove, P groove, S groove, N groove, K groove. So there are 6 wholly different super meters in that game. I think that's why it's my favorite.
That's super cool.
Yeah, they all have a unique little design. Yeah. What about you, Lauren?
You get when you fill it up. For me, as you said, Wes, kind of blurring the lines here between what a HUD is and what just like other interface elements are. But I thought about it and I was like, the thing I really can't live without is being able to pin quest objectives to my screen, like having a pinned quest button, because I am forgetful. I get very distracted. And I will look at my quest log